Hey, I'm Deidre Detterman, host of the Do It My Way podcast, where we empower women business owners and CEOs to do business on their terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. I'm obsessed with all things marketing. I started my career in television, and I remember sitting in countless meetings, listening to executives talk about things that needed to change, but they never did. I was always thinking, what if we did it my way? Once I became an entrepreneur and I started living life on my terms, working the hours I want to work, making the money I want to make, I started to feel success. I was finally in control of my destiny. I hope you will join me on this journey discovering how you can do it your way. You're going to love my next guest, Heather Van Hooser. She's been in 13 years of private banking with Mabry Bank and spent a lifetime full of philanthropy work that's really changed her life. Heather, thank you for being on the Do It My Way podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You look so fun and springy. I love it. We both showed up and kind of had our spring on. We're manifesting spring to come quicker.
Our little color coordination.
Yes,
just
super
brings
fun.
smiles.
Love it. Okay, so I want you to share with me a little bit about your journey. Just here right out of the gate, you went from OSU to being one of the top private bankers in the country. And how did you get to this point?
Well, it's kind of a fun story. People ask if I always wanted to be a banker, and the answer is no. When I was in school, you know, in growing up, you were like, what's your favorite color? And it was green. And what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was a veterinarian. So my whole childhood, I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I grew up in Stillwater, went to Oklahoma State, and started in pre-vet. I actually started Ag-Econ pre-vet major, and I took my first chemistry class, and I went to my dad, who was also my professor, or my advisor, went to him, and I'm like, chemistry is not my jam. And I knew it wasn't my jam, and anyway, so I ended up pivoting, and then went to, for some reason, I thought I wanted to be a pilot. And so I went to aeronautical at OSU, which is totally a segue. And that wasn't my jam either. And then year 3, I decided to take some finance classes, and I absolutely loved them.
How crazy, because such an opposite, side of the brain.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting. I think I wanted to be a veterinarian so bad. And then I panicked a little bit when I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm not going to be a veterinarian, what am I going to be? And so then I just took many different paths and then realized, hey, what do I enjoy in college? And I loved my accounting classes. I loved my finance classes. And then so I changed my major to Ag-Econ and accounting. And then between my 4th and 5th year, I knew at that time I wanted to go. It's so funny how I say I know I wanted to do, but look at where I am now. I wanted to be a stockbroker in Chicago. And OSU had a internship program with a commodity broker in Chicago. So I was selected to do that and worked in Chicago for about 6 weeks. Absolutely loved it.
I can see you doing that.
It was so fun. I mean, it was eating and, entertainment and a very fast-paced life. But I had horses at the time, and I realized it was going to cost way more for my horse to live there if I wanted to take my horse than me. And plus, it was far away from family. In that same summer, I did an internship with BOK and was able to do some incredible stuff. So I came back to school my last year, and I thought, you know what? I want to be a banker. And I loved my internship at Bank of Oklahoma. So that's kind of the path that I chose.
That's so great, because I talk to students all the time that they don't know what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And the most important thing to do is get an internship, because if you can walk in and say, okay, what is life really like? What you're doing in school and accounting is not the same thing as what you're doing at BOK.
Right.
Meaning you're around people, it's more fun, just the textbook is not necessarily the best part. Yeah. And, marketing is definitely that way. So we love interns and take them all the time. But I love that you were able to kind of pivot. I know horses are a big part of your life, so I can see you being a vet. You're like, I want to be a vet. I love animals.
Right.
You've been showing horses since you were 8.
8 years old. Yeah.
And you still do.
I still do.
So kind of share that journey with us.
So on the horses, I started at 8 years old, and my parents, we loved animals. And so we got involved in 4-H at a very young age. And we started showing pigs, which I don't know if you remember that, but I loved pigs, and I, like every 8-year-old does. I'm just kidding. And then we started doing horses. So Dad always teased that the pigs were the assets and the horses were the liabilities. And so
So
we raised pigs and actually paid a lot of my school through pigs, but also had the horses. And so I started showing it in at the county, and then, the competition. Then I started doing the district horse shows and then the state horse shows. And I remember going to the World Show, and it was in Oklahoma City at the time. And Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, you would have to get tickets, and we were in the nosebleed section for the finals. And I remember saying, one day I want to have a horse that's good enough to even compete at the show. And so it was kind of a goal I set as a kid. And it didn't at that time necessarily seem attainable because, people like Lee were showing, which your stepsister, who's a dear friend of mine, but I would see her competing and I'm like, oh my gosh, one day that's what I want to do. So my horses have always been in my life, different levels. I mean, when I was in college, I had to kind of segue back. And I'll never forget when I graduated college, Dad was like, okay, now the bills are yours. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, this is going to be like not near as much fun.
I just did that with my daughter.
You did. You're like reality check.
But you had a horse that you had to
did.
house and store and take care of and all of that.
Yeah. But it's fun. I mean, you can do it at different levels. It's always been just kind of a peace of mind, a happy place. I would finish a busy day at the office and I would drive to the barn and ride. And it was just a way for me to just change my focus, change my mindset, look forward to something. And now I have 2 horses in Texas, Pilot Point. So I'll actually leave some mornings at 3:30 in the morning, drive 3.5 hours, get there at 7:30, practice, and then be back before lunch time. And so, I mean, but it's your passion. It's what you love. And I can get so much done in the car, driving and talking to people, and I get to practice and do what I love and then get back and be part of my team by noon.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, starting at 8, I mean, that takes a lot of discipline at that young of an age, and it's serious business. So what do you think that discipline did for you that you carry through to your life today?
That's a great question. In Oklahoma City, Texas, Arizona, just kind of some of the places we show. In the cafeteria of all places in Oklahoma City, there's this sign that says, every champion was once a contender that never gave up. And that is so true. I think at 8 years old, I knew what I wanted to do. And it was just a lot of work, a lot of commitment, a lot of prioritizing, realizing that sometimes school had to come first, or sometimes now family has to come first, but it's never losing sight of your passion and what you want to do and how you need to get there. So I think it honestly formed the framework of who I am, having that passion, having that love, and just learning how to fit that in your life. And yes, I still do it. I mean, it's a hobby, but it's an addiction. I mean, I say it's an addiction in the best of ways.
A healthy one, a great one.
Yeah. And it's taught me a lot of prioritization in my life. And I mean, it'll be with me till I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, is there like an age that people aren't showing horses anymore? Is it?
No. And so I just had a pivotal age crossing over to 50, which is so fun. And there's the select showing. And so I went to enter the horse show 2 weeks ago, and the trainer said, do you want to enter select? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a select rider now. But I didn't yet. But no, there's people who ride, 70, 80 years old. So you can do it. You can continue owning horses. And even if it's just having a horse in the pasture or having a horse that you can go get on, what it does mentally, I think you can do that until the day you die. I mean, it's just something that's going to be in your life forever, and you can do it.
I think animals and horses in general are just so calming too. It's like that calm effect. I don't know. Anytime you're around horses, I feel like it's just like that. It gives you that peace.
It does. I mean, if you look how growing up, and we'll talk about this, but the service piece of the horses and the allowing people to experience, because not everybody has touched a horse. Not everybody has been in the presence of a horse. So we grew up taking our horses to skilled nursing facilities. We took them to the Special Olympics. I took them to school. So just letting someone who hasn't been around a horse, and especially at the Special Olympics, you can see how a fiery horse around a special needs child or a young child or an elderly person, their demeanor changes because they feel that. And it's just incredible to watch how they interface with people who might have hesitation. And it's special. And
That is.
And even for me, I mean, if I'm having a crappy day at the office or busy and I go out and talk to my horse, I mean, they listen.
They don't talk
I know
back.
they don't.
They're not talking
They
back
don't.
like
They
a kid would.
That's so true. And it's just this peaceful and energizing, and it's a special bond.
That's great. So that it's funny because I feel like that side of your life is the peaceful, calm, and then the other side is like high-powered, executive in banking and all of that. So it's probably like a good balance.
It is.
Balances out.
It is.
So you have 10 women on your team, which I'm so impressed with. We have 7 on our team, and I was like, that's a lot of estrogen out there.
It's a lot. Yes.
But I love that because before you came on, I was just doing some research because banking is traditionally kind of male-dominated industry, and especially private banking. So according to ChatGPT, there are 27% of the private bankers out there are women.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy.
Only 27%. So what do you think makes you guys different, just being an all-female team?
Female team. So the good news is we just hired 2 more women. And disclaimer, yes, we have tried to hire a man, and we did hire one, and he came to me and he said, Heather, I just can't keep the pace because it's a very dynamic, we pivot, we go. It's interesting. We'll be private bank party of 13 women, and most people think, oh my gosh. But it's the most incredible group of women. In private banking, I would say a female especially our team, is a great balance of heart and numbers. And so
that's great.
It is. I mean, and there's the EQ and the IQ side of the brain, the emotional side of the brain. I feel like the women we have on our team are very nurturing. They're a safe place for other females or people going through life transitions. It's private banking, which what that means is it's more affluent families, higher net worth families, individuals who own their own companies, who are retired, for whatever reason, have financial success. And so that person tends to it's more of a boutique kind of banking, very high service banking. So we go hard and we go fast and we pivot. And I think women are really good at doing that, and our team especially. And a team of 13 women, we communicate well, we celebrate well, we cry together. I mean, if you think about it, you're with your team majority of the day, so they're your family. That's not your biological family. So you have to be able to get along, and our team does. And it's just this amazing group of women who together we're just, I mean, it's I would say it's probably the best team that I've ever been around, and it's 13 women.
Well, it's a testament to you, right?
You.
I mean, the leader is usually a big reflection of what the team is like. So, and creating that family, I love that you said heart and numbers, because I think if you put your heart into anything, I talked to our team just from the marketing standpoint of, if you care and think about that being your business, what would you do if that was your business?
Right.
And that's the advice that I always try to share, because it's like, I could, everyone could, it's easy just to go out there and throw a bunch of numbers and try to market. But it's like, this small business owner, this is all they have. They're taking it out of their pocket to try to get this off the ground. And so if you put your heart into it, I think it always shows through, and clients appreciate that, which is a big part of it. So for those that don't know, what would you do for your client as a private banker? Share the type of things you do.
Sure. So I always say it's a stool with 3 legs. And so we take care of the loans, their deposits, and their ultimate net worth. And so basically quarterbacking the investments of the money that they've generated. And a lot of times our clients are very busy. So whereas some people come into the bank, we go to those clients. It's a lot of early mornings, and you asked the question about, 27% of women are in, which is shocking to me, but I understand, because it's a lot of early mornings with clients, after hours with clients, non-conventional times. We have our cell phones, which can be, they can be a blessing, but they can also be a curse. We're always accessible, and we have boundaries. We don't allow, clients don't cross those boundaries, but there's times in life when they need us, and we're always accessible. So we help, when I say a safe space, and I think my team is that safe space where people can come to us when they have transitions, a death, a retirement, a divorce. I mean, and literally we sit and spend hours with clients just talking through their loans and their deposits. And Debbie, one of the ladies on my team, there was a person who was wanting to come and open a small business. And we looked at the numbers. So I say, it's a good balance of heart and numbers. We all love numbers. And that's what I said in college. When I realized the accounting, I love it. I mean, I'm kind of a dork when it comes to looking at numbers. But to someone who doesn't understand those numbers and wants to maybe step out and be a small business owner, it's our duty to help them look at the what ifs, look what could go wrong, look what could go right. So Debbie had a client come in and a friend wanted to help this person invest in a new business. Immediately we knew that whatever they thought it was going to take to get it off the ground was going to be 3 times more. And so Debbie came in after hours and for 2 hours and sat down with this person and worked through their cash flow.
Amazing.
And we didn't tell them, no, you can't do this. We just wanted to help equip them. So private banking, and that was a friend of a client. And so we spend a lot of time just consulting. We also spend time, like we deliver poinsettias at Christmas. And it gives us time to see our clients. For Valentine's Day, we had several ladies that we were like, we got these really cool Valentine heart sweaters, and we just wanted them to know that we were thinking of them. We send birthday cards. When someone's sick, I'll make a big pot of chicken noodle soup and go put on their front porch. I mean, so
almost like a best friend.
It is, yeah,
and a trusted source.
And that's true. A trusted source. I love that word. But it's nature. And so you go back to the women on our team, and it's human instinct nature for those women to do that. So then you go back to that 27%. It takes a lot of time. And I don't think every private bank team does what we do, but it's what defines us and what we do. And we don't do it because we think we have to. We do it because we want to. And it makes our team so special. And it allows us to celebrate together. And it's just fun. I mean, we create a really fun environment.
Well, anytime you can have fun at work, it doesn't feel like work.
True.
And I think that's the key, finding something and then surrounding yourself with a team that is the same.
And that you want to do it with.
Right.
That you want to do it with.
That's right. So trust plays a huge part in what you do. So how do you get a client to trust you, like when they first meet you? Like, what would you say is the number one thing that you do to kind of gain trust?
That's a very good question. I think listening. All the ladies on our team are excellent listeners. And so you spend majority of your time listening and not necessarily solving problems for your clients, but just helping them work through them and look at solutions. And the biggest thing is, let's say, someone's my client. I would see them at a community event. No one in that room would know they were my client unless they said it. So confidentiality is so uber important. And we have clients that are all over the US, which is a blessing. Mabry has allowed, as long as we have a connection with that person. It could be a horse show person that I met. It could be, a daughter of a client here that lives in LA. So we have clients all over Washington, DC, Nantucket, Florida, LA. I mean, so all over. But one of the strengths is that we are very confidential and no one will know your business. A fear of people is that either know the good side of their business or the bad side of their business. But one thing with our team is we're uber confidential. Right. So I think trust is just developed over time. And the more they work with us, the more they trust, and it's a relationship. And we've developed some relationships from 1999 when I went to work at Bank of Oklahoma that I still to this day have, and they're just some of my dearest friends and dearest clients.
That's great. I love that. So if there's a young woman out there wanting to get into private banking and kind of break through the industry, what is your number one piece of advice?
Work hard. And I think the job you have at first and it's so funny. People think what I do is so glamorous. Yes, I love what I do, and 70% of it's glamorous, but 30% of it is in the weeds, boots on, and it's not as glamorous, having tough conversations. So like I tell every person that's getting into banking, if you are cleaning out files as your job, clean out the files the very best. If you are a credit underwriter, ask questions and be the best credit underwriter. If you are a lender, be the best lender. So whatever job you're given, be the best. And kind of the blessing about going to work at Bank of Oklahoma is I had the ability to see so many different sides. And that was through my internship and then going back to work for BOK. I got to see the treasury side. I got to see the back office side. I was able to see corporate healthcare lending where I started. But I knew I wanted to be more intimately involved in people's lives. The only way I learned that was by watching people, seeing other departments, knowing where my strengths were. So I would say to a young woman, get into the bank, be the very best at the job you're given, and just see where that path takes you. And wherever you're passionate, follow that dream.
Did you have any female mentors along the way?
I did. So there was a lady by the name of Jane Falconberry. And so I went from the training program. I did the internship first, the year before I graduated, then went into the training program and was a credit analyst, and then went to corporate healthcare banking. And there was a lady named Jane, and she was so I was probably 23 at the time, tall, classy, strong woman. She worked hard. She was very smart. And we traveled together, and I would set up the meetings, do cold calling, which was not the most fun thing, but that was my job. So I would set up meetings, and we would go to Missouri and have meetings. And Jane would go into a meeting, and kind of where I am now, she would end up developing a relationship with these people, and she could turn someone down for a loan request if it wasn't, a good loan request, and walk out the door and hug. And so her clients respected her, her clients valued her, and her delivery was so eloquent but firm, very smart. And so I always looked up to her, and I'm like, I want to be like Jane. And at 23 years old, I'm like, I'm never going to be as smart as Jane.
Right.
But now
here you are.
Well, now I look back and I'm like, thank you, Jane. And I need to actually tell her more how truly special she was, in a very formative part of my life when I was learning about banking. And I'm like, oh my God, she knows so much, and she can just roll questions off, answers off for questions. And here I am now. So it's fun.
And that's how you learn. I mean, that's such a great way to learn.
Yeah.
So, well, I know philanthropy has played a really big part in your life and what the core of what you are. So I want to read this quote really quick, because this is comes from you and is one of my very favorite ones that I've heard. So community service is the rent we pay for our place on earth.
Yes.
What does that mean for you?
So at a very young age, 8 years old, when my sister and I started doing 4-H, one of the key components of 4-H is community service. And my dad, the most wonderful man, Catholic military, very strong, very structured, always told my sister, Anna, and me that community service is the rent we pay for this place on earth. And as a child, I don't think I necessarily knew what that meant, but I heard it over and over. Later in life, I know so much more what Dad was trying to say. And what he was trying to say is, you always hear self-made. Not one person, in my view, is self-made. I mean, we drive on roads that people built for us. We went to schools where people raised money so that we could be educated, whether at trade or, elementary school. And we have so many blessings because of the military, men and women in the police force, men and women and, firemen. So many people who sacrificed for us to have what we have and to be as successful. So the rent is not a duty, but it's an obligation to pay that back. And as Dad was trying to say, leave this place better than we found it. So that's the rent, that it's our duty to leave our schools, our work, our communities better than how we found them. So
if only everyone lived by that. I mean, what a great philosophy. I love that.
it's special. And Dad used to always say it, and my sister and I would roll our eyes and be like, what is he talking about? But as you
It's ingrained.
It's ingrained.
Yeah.
And now I get what he was saying. And you see so many people who sacrifice so that we could be here today, so that we could be in our professions. And it's our duty to give back. And even if it's just putting a smile on somebody's face, even if it's the smallest of a service, it's our obligation to do that for people that come behind us and for thanking people for what they did for us.
Absolutely. That's great. So I know you've been involved with Habitat for Humanity, Project Woman. Tell me a little bit about what you've done with those projects.
So Oklahoma Project Woman, I was asked by a client to sit on kind of a committee 22 years ago. And what we would do is do these boxes that they would sell at their event. And it could be in honor of somebody. It could be in support of somebody. And so we got gift certificates and all kinds of stuff that we'd put in these boxes and they'd sell at the event. Well, we have my sister, mom, and I, our family has a very dear friend. Her name was Nancy, and she was struggling with breast cancer. So the first person I called was my mom. And I was like, hey, Mom, let's do this box. It's $200 and they're going to sell it for whatever. And we did it in honor of Nancy. And so the day before the event, I called Nancy and I was like, hey, we have this box we did for you. And she said, Heather, please never stop giving to this organization because one day they will find a cure. So,
and share real quick what they do for women.
Oklahoma Project Woman is a phenomenal organization. It provides breast exams and will take it if a lump is found in both men and women for people who don't have insurance, people who can't afford it. So early detection of breast cancer is so important. And so they do thousands of paid mammograms for people who can't afford it. And then they will it's amazing. And so for 20 years, in some way, shape, or form, because Nancy said, Heather, please don't stop, before she passed away, I have been involved in Oklahoma Project Woman. And it is a tremendous organization that continues to be a blessing to so many Oklahomans. And then Habitat for Humanity, based on my, financial acumen and Habitat's an incredible organization in Oklahoma as well that provides housing and provides, housing for people who need some support. So what I learned in both of those organizations, it can be the smallest of a service or a smallest of a contribution. As long as it impacts one person's life, then you've made a difference.
Absolutely.
And in Oklahoma, we used to get these letters, Deidre, from people. There was a woman who was changing careers and she was a teacher changing to something. So she didn't have insurance. And it was literally a gap of, let's say, 3 or 4 months. She found a lump, didn't have insurance. It gives you chills. And so she came to Oklahoma Project Woman. And the executive director, Ann, who's an incredible woman, not only will they will pay for these exams, but she's a survivor as well. She would go to appointments with people if someone didn't have a hand to hold. So when I say I have seen what the smallest of an effort can impact somebody's life, and it makes everything I do for one of those organizations worthwhile.
That's great. I love that you're involved in that. And then Big Brothers and Big Sisters.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, 25 years in.
Yes.
And you've been a big sister to Antoinette for 25 years.
25
so
years.
Share what it was like when you first met her and where she is now.
So in 1999, when I moved to Tulsa, I had my horse community. I knew my horse people, and I had my banker friends. And I go back to community service is the rent we pay for this place on earth. And I knew I wanted to get involved. And Bank of Oklahoma had a tremendous partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters. And they had a sister school, Emerson Elementary. And I was like, I want to be a big sister. And so I sat down with the case manager, and there were 3 girls that I could pick from, which was so stressful. It's like picking a dog,
Right.
like not, like you want to take all of them. But Antoinette on her form had I love animals. And I'm like, well, that's her because
Right.
obviously, and she had horses and she loved dogs. And so I went to school that first time and I met her, and she was 8 years old. And I'll never forget, you go back to how do you establish trust with your clients? It's the same thing. How do I establish trust with Antoinette? So we read together. We did her little science fair projects. We had some really fun science fair projects. And so I would just go to school and spend time with her. And it's funny that we did an interview with her and she was like, I felt like Heather was there all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, it makes me feel good because sometimes I felt like I wasn't there enough.
Right.
But then we took it to the next level of being full big sisters. And it's just been an incredible journey. 19, so it's actually 27 years, which is crazy.
Oh my goodness.
And she is absolutely an incredible human being. She was the first in her family to go to college. She graduated magna cum laude from Langston. She went on to study for her nursing, but then pivoted in the middle of her nursing journey and went to counseling because she wants to give back to kids who've been through some of the things she's been through. And she now lives in Dallas. She's a mom and she's an incredible mom. So although we're not in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program anymore, she truly is my little sister. And we always tease, and I introduce her as my little sister. And she, obviously our skin color's a little different. And we always tease, we're like, oh, we have different dads, and people like shake their heads and move on, but we laugh. And honestly, she's like my little sister. And we do life together. We talk on the phone. We talk about boys. We talk about men. We talk about kids. We talk about work. Whatever phase of life we're in, we talk about. So it's been a tremendous relationship, and she'll forever be my little sister, even though we're not necessarily in the program anymore.
I mean, you changed the trajectory of her life, obviously coming in at the right time and being consistent and staying.
Right.
I mean, you hear people having, a little sister for a few years. I mean, to be now she's a mom and giving back. I mean, what a fun full circle.
Yeah.
Just beautiful moment.
It is. And she is, and I say a badass, she literally is. I mean, there were times in all of our lives, we could have taken different paths. And there were times in her life where she could have taken a different path. And, I would load her up in the car and we'd go to Stillwater to OSU football games. I was National Youth Advisor for a horse, PHBA horse program. And we did lunches. And so she would come with me and so she was just part of every piece of my life. And so not that a path she would have chosen would have been the wrong path. I just wanted to show her other paths, and she could pick her own path, but I wanted to show her what other options were out there. And it's just been fun, and watching her flourish, and it has been the most amazing thing to watch. And I always tease that I'm not sure if she was more beneficial to me or I was more beneficial to her, because there were times in my life that I had a crappy day at the office and I couldn't go ride my horse, and I would call Antoinette and be like, hey, let's go get ice cream. So she lifted me up in ways that she didn't necessarily know at the time. So it's been very mutually beneficial relationship for both of us.
So if there's a woman out there that wants to get involved in charity work and, kind of further their philanthropy, how do they get started?
Sure. That's a good question. Do what you love. Do what you're passionate about. Find organizations that, if it is breast cancer, call up and say, how can I help? And it doesn't have to be chairing an event, sitting on a board, having the time commitments of a little sister. It could be the smallest of service. But find something you're passionate about, ask questions, and call organizations and say, how can I help? And this is my time commitment. This is what I can do. And just start small. And as long as you love what you're doing, you're going to continue doing it. And it's going to become more ingrained in your life. But just make some calls, ask people, talk to people. I'd be happy to talk to anybody if they need to brainstorm. I don't necessarily know what's out there. Let's talk about it. Let's see where everybody has such good traits and abilities to give, and some people just don't know what those are. So talk to people and say, hey, Deidre, what am I good at? Where do you feel like I could provide service to somebody else? And let you tell me, and then be like, hey, that's true, and let's look at it. So just start, ask questions, and do something that you love.
That's great advice. I think one thing that I've noticed over years is just, diving into charity work, it's the other people you meet that are doing the same thing that are some of my best friends now.
Yep.
It's like-minded people or women that really, rally around together. And that was something I wasn't expecting.
Right.
The whole give back, yes, my parents have ingrained that in me as well. Mm-hmm. But it's like what you get out of it, and then the friendships that come through that has really been pretty special too. So
it is. I mean, you realize the people that you meet are special, and not that you're alike, but your passions and your hearts are alike. And I've had people, Deidre, ask me, I'm a young mom and I'm working and I'm going to baseball and I'm doing all this. How can I give back? Mm-hmm. And it's starting with the small things. If you see someone on the team who needs a new pair of tennis shoes that may not have the financial wherewithal to do that, that's giving back. And that's starting. So wherever you are in your life, just start. And like you said, the people you meet become your dearest friends, and you work with them and you have the same passions and same energies, and
yep,
it's fun.
That's right. So my final question, okay, the show is Do It My Way.
Yes.
And so basically Do It My Way is not following the path of everybody else and kind of doing the same thing, but following your heart of what is true to you. Mm-hmm. And so in what way do you do it your way?
So that's a fun question. If you were in my car with me and we lifted my garage door, when you drove into my garage, I have you've seen it, I have a big sign that says, bad decisions make for better stories. So I've heard a lot in my life growing up. Is that the right thing to do? Is that a good decision? Maybe not. But if you look around that picture, you see smiles, you see all my girlfriends, you see my family, you see my community events. So I've put pictures all the way around that of celebrations of bad decisions make for better stories, because it wasn't necessarily somebody else's path, but it was my path and it was my decision. And I'm saying not all my decisions have been good ones, but for the most part, they've made me who I am. And that path, my path is so unique. I grew up having pigs. That's not the coolest thing to have. And later in life, I'm like, look what that taught me. At show and tell, I would take my pig when everybody else was taking family heirlooms and travel stuff. And I would load my pigs up and take them to school so my friends could see my pigs. So if it's your path and it may not be the path that everybody else thinks you need to be on, that's okay. It's going to make you unique. And I think we learn that. I wish we knew that when we were kids, that it was okay. I think us as mentors and parents, let our kids be unique and let them find their own path. And yes, bad decisions make for better stories. And being unique is just invaluable. And just be yourself. And I love the name of your podcast because it just allows people to be free and be who they are. And it's fun. I mean,
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. And you have the coolest garage I've ever seen, by the way. Like, we need to put the garage out there. It really is.
Fun.
You have a
it's
great
fun.
garage.
Well, thank you.
So much fun. But I appreciate you being here and sharing.
It's fun.
So great.
Thank you for listening to the Do It My Way podcast. If you're wanting to build a personal brand, but you aren't sure where to start, I want you to book a discovery call with me at deidredetterman.com. I hope you are empowered today to do business on your terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. Again, head over to deidredetterman.com and click on Get a Quote.